Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back for another week, and it's been an exciting week. Lots of things have happened. The game is completely different, and then there's some fear mongering happening as well that might also occur. We'll maybe talk about that. But it's ProQuest season, everyone's second favorite season next to RTN season. And Lucas, how it was? Did you go to a ProQuest? Have you been playing the game at all? What are you doing?
So I signed up for a ProQuest and I borrowed cards for a ProQuest. And then the ProQuest was going to be on Saturday. And Friday night, I went to sleep. And then Saturday, I woke up and it was 12 p.m. and the ProQuest started at 11 a.m. And so I went back to sleep for 2 more hours. And then when I woke up, I was sad that I had missed my ProQuest. But that's okay. My ELO's pretty good. And I have some PTIs in the bank. So even if I fail at my.
You got 4 more weeks. You got
I,
things.
I have one more ProQuest that I'm able to go to.
Oh, only one more.
Yeah, well, the one of my stores that normally gets one did not get one, but yeah, so I only have two ProQuests that I can go to, and I slipped through one of them. But we'll see how the rest goes. I guess the other thing I've been playing a lot of Talishar actually. I've just been playing a bunch of Verdance online. I think Verdance kind of broken, but that's just me, I guess. I think the hero does some pretty sweet stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely broken in one sense of the word.
No. Verdance is the shit. I've been really enjoying her. I think
I like how you keep saying the good things, but they're actually bad things. You know, she's broken, she's the shit. Very open interpretation of like, I actually just deep down subconsciously she's terrible. So you have to say these like double entendres.
I think she's pretty strong. I think she does really strong things that other heroes don't really do, and she has some mechanics that are pretty sweet and unique in the game right now.
No, have you played Verdance at all?
Yeah, only Blitz. No, I get the appeal completely because Verdance and Blitz is like actually good. So like I know what the Verdance riding high feels like.
What do you think she's bad in CC?
The opponent doesn't start at 20. You just like have so much more life to get through.
Oh, that's the best part of CC though, is that like it's so easy to get through their life because you have time to set up like real rampant growths. Like you just like it doesn't matter that they start at 40 because like at some point you're just like, I'm down 20 life. I'm gonna gain 10, amp 10, 21 arcane, go. And then you do like 14 on their turn, and
I guess I've only been playing like Waning Moon stuff because that's like what you play in Blitz.
no, you still do that in CC with Waning Moon. It's just like
why do you do 21?
No. You just do one instance of 21.
Yeah. Come on, just already lying.
No, I did. I didn't say two instances. Just one.
Okay, you can check the tapes. You surely said 21, but it's okay. Maybe you're just reciting lyrics.
It's possible.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I think she's like fine. We can get into more what happened last week though before we get into talking about Earth decks.
Sure. Dan, go to a ProQuest. I heard you went to a ProQuest and you didn't lose a game. What happened?
I went to two ProQuests. I didn't lose any games the whole weekend in the Swiss rounds. And on Saturday I went to, I forgot the name of the store. It was like Collector Center or something in Poughkeepsie, New York. It was the first time I like showed up on the Flesh and Blood map, so I checked them out. It's a pretty cool store, very large, lots of like cool products from different card games and like collectibles. Yeah, had a good time there. I played Enigma all weekend. Won all the Swiss games, like I said. And then I played a Celio in top 8. The way I lost top 8 in both events were like so wildly different. This one was just like my deck, one of the worst draws I've ever had in like Flesh and Blood. It was just like my maximum output every turn was like, I don't know, like CNC for 6 was the best thing I did the whole game. But the Celio, on the other hand, he just like comboed me every turn of the game. It was wild. Like he did a full combo, I think 4 different times before he even like cracked his boots. And then he cracked his boots and I died.
Wait,
so that was fun.
What is full combo if you're not cracking boots?
I'm gonna try not to exaggerate. I think he cast God in a Flash like 14 times.
Oh.
Before he cracks his boots. I would put it that way. It was like playing blinks and stuff. It was like he kept on cracking the boots. I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's like going small and setting up some sigils, but like, no, just it's like 20 damage every turn. I don't know. It was tough. Like every arcane spell he cast was for like 8+. That was sweet. And then Sunday I went to Sip and Play in Brooklyn for the first time. Cool store. Really chill player base. I enjoyed like the games and the people I interacted with quite a lot. Same thing. I went on my Swiss games. And then top 8 was actually a pretty neat game against a Slippy that I lost. I was like so sharp to start the game. I made some like incredible reads, not incredible reads, but like good reads to like know he didn't have pumps and like couldn't clear my board. So I started with like I think it was like 40 to 20, and then I lost because a few reasons, mostly not knowing the matchup, but I like got lazy and didn't do the math on one turn on the bonds. And then I ran out of what's it called? Spectral manifestations. And I'm playing Refractor, so this is like all of the damage output. And I was like, this is fine. Like I only took 1 damage, like we'll recover. And then the next time I try and keep an attack, that got bounced away, which were my Metamorphs. So then I just couldn't attack for the rest of the game. I was like, okay, maybe I can fatigue him. But like the reason I had this lead was because he didn't draw any attack reactions. So we're like 20, 25 cards in, and his whole deck are reactions and a couple of stealth attacks and like every kiss of death. So I was like, that's not good. I hope I can attack at some point. I just never attacked and I died.
But now you have graduated. You don't have to play the Enigma anymore, so you will not be stuck playing a bad deck. We're good. It's dead.
Yeah, the deck's like kind of frustrating, but so incredibly powerful at the same time.
Yeah. Noah, did you have a ProQuest?
Yeah, I played one. It was like kind of a meme of a tournament, honestly. I just played the same Enigma deck, paired into Pistol Dash, Hatchet Dory, some other deck that was like a free win for Enigma. And then I paired Fino the last round when we were both 3-0, so we just drew. And then both of us lost in top 8. Just like absolute buffoons. I didn't draw a way to transcend until turn 5 when my opponent had already cast all 3 Arc Lightnings and a Flicker. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm down way too many points and I can't really come back. So kind of like a sad way to send off the deck, but I'm also glad to not have to play it anymore.
You actually never had to play it, guys. You could have played a good deck like the whole time. It was possible. It was on the table. I know you own the cards for the good deck.
No, I actually don't. I never bought an Aurora Armory deck. I'm holding out.
Oh, yeah. You only had the expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played a ProQuest. I brought new. New felt fine. It was like a little, Florian heavy. I was able to win a couple of games, but I had one of those days where I just like woke up and I was just like asleep still when I woke up, and it just like didn't go away. And I played my first couple of games. I managed to get through it. I made some dubious decisions against my second Enigma opponent of the day, and lost that game. And then I played a Slippy and just threw like a 1 game. I couldn't think.
Wait,
like, I don't know.
I think I've realized something.
What?
You got your wisdom teeth taken out. Maybe it actually took out your wisdom.
Maybe it did take out my
You've just been slumping mad hard ever since you got them taken out.
Yeah, I was. I also quit nicotine at the same time, so maybe that's also a
okay
indicator.
Yeah, but the wisdom teeth thing is definitely
double wisdom.
Yeah.
Taken away.
It was just weird. I was just like sitting there at the Slippy game. I'm like way up, like the game should be free, and I'm just like looking at a 3-card hand, and in my head, I'm like having 2 levels of thoughts. I'm like looking at the cards, trying to figure out what I do, and then the back of my head's like, I can't think right now. Like I'm having the second conversation of like, I can't think what to do with these cards. I have played a sink below. Do I sink this card? Why would I sink this card? What am I looking for? What am I doing with these 3 cards? Like, and in the back of my head's like, why can't I think of what to do? And then it's just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm just like, fine, I'll just sink this CNC because he's not going to set a card. And then I just like draw another blue and I go, he's at 7. Why didn't I just throw the CNC? And then I'm like, I guess I punted the game and just like move on with my life. And I just lose a 20 health lead because like I don't throw a CNC and I couldn't figure out what I was trying to do. And it was like it was like some level of that almost every turn. I just couldn't wake up. I'm driving home, so I just like leave. I like drop because I'm out of the tournament at that point. Because like I lost to an Enigma, which and which is fine. I beat an Enigma, lost an Enigma, whatever. You can't hope for more than that as new. And then I just like punt that game off. I drive to go pick up like some product, like with store credit, because I was like close to a store. And they're like, okay, what's your phone number? And I'm like, I don't know my phone number right now. I can't. I literally can't think about. I don't know. It's some numbers. My brain just does
It's
not
some
work today.
numbers.
Dude, this is me every tournament.
And I was just like, I'm like, why do I feel this way? Like, I don't understand why I cannot think at all. And I just go home and I'm just like, I don't know what happened, but I slept terribly. Couldn't think all day. Moved on with my life, I guess. We will see if it happens again this weekend, and then we might have a real problem if that is the case. But I plan on playing new again. I think new's just fun. I think it's actually pretty terrible in the meta, but I just think I can kind of get there if I, play the deck I want, and I get to take out a bunch of the junk that I had in there for Enigma and play like a kind of a different list. So I'm pretty excited to do that this weekend. But I do not look forward to all the Florians, because legitimately half the people I talked to at the ProQuest said they're switching to Florian next week. I'm just like, sweet.
I have it built right over there.
I was like, yeah, I'm like, maybe I should play Verdance.
Just play Aurora. If everyone's playing Florian, just play Aurora.
I have also not purchased the
Aurora Armory deck.
the Aurora Armory deck,
Mine
and
is
I'm trying not to purchase it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to run it.
Kind of sus to if you can't like literally borrow the cards from somebody who owns them already. It feels kind of pointless to buy Aurora.
Does Starbow not like these cards?
I don't play Starbow.
All the Armory
Not
decks
like
are
Dawn
just
of Flashes and Channel Lightning Valleys and the Armory deck and.
Oh, you're saying the whole deck? Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah, just the cards in the deck are pretty Aurora specific.
Yeah, there's no Starbow playables in the set.
So I'm trying to avoid, buying that for no reason.
Wait, Cody, you're saying Max is the new meta?
I
think everybody who's tried it
has
quickly figured out that none of the new stuff is any good.
It could be the new meta for people walking into stores that haven't played FAB before. I've seen that, like the last Armory I went to, there was 2 people who just like showed up and we were like sleeving up their deck for them, and they were playing the new Max deck round 1 and seemed to be having a decent time. Like the equipment suite is actually like kind of real. I think it's like one thing they've like done really well with these Armory decks is like very different from the original IRA like welcome learn to play thing where there's no equipment. Now equipment is like super lit in these decks. Like you actually have equipment that you would run in a real CC deck, so you get to see like how the game actually plays, where you can like fridge something on a pivot turn.
Yeah, I think the deck looks really cool, like in a vacuum, just playing like starter deck versus starter deck. But
yeah, I think it's a
in
really
terms of support, it's like a travesty.
Yeah, it's really cool. It feels like it has this new unique strategy that like is streamlined and like works and does its thing. It just like is really fucking bad. Like it's just not like CC real, because it's
if you're putting Hyperdriver in your deck, you're not trying to win.
It's just like slow, kind of bad, not impressive rate. You don't have very many power cards. You just kind of don't do anything good. Like you just do a bunch of okay stuff and then you fall over and die. It's kind of like the Refractor Enigma deck.
All right, it's the exact opposite. Refractor Enigma is lit in the end game. You don't fall over and die. You get stronger.
True, unless they ripple away your manifestations.
But then in the end game, your deck's just all chi, so you can't ripple away chi.
Yeah, you can.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you. Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, you can.
Wait, it's his action card?
Just so confidently wrong.
So
easy.
Okay.
Yikes.
You don't know the fear, man. I know exactly what cards can get rippled.
Indeed.
After playing Viscerai too, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of how ripple away works.
Viscerai one trick.
Yeah.
True. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week, because a lot of things changed for the ProQuest, especially this weekend coming up. Aurora, #1 winning deck still at 26 wins. If it's 3 points per win, which I don't think it is, I'm not 100% sure how that breakdown's going to work this time. But this is roughly enough points if this continues every week to get her LL'd, I think as well.
Well, it has to be 3 points, right? Because Zen got exactly 1,000.
Was it 3 points? I didn't.
He was 991, and he's now exactly 1,000. So
yeah, sure, you're right. So it is 3 points. So yeah, that's more than enough if she does that, basically every week. And then Enigma at 19. So those wins are going to have to go to someone else in this next week. Florian with 6, New with 6, Slippy way up here with 5. Lots of popular with Slippy. Victor came with 4, Prism 4, Zen with 3, and then everything else kind of had 1 or 2 wins after that. I don't think there's anything surprising about what won, right? Maybe the amount of Aurora wins is really high.
That's only surprising to people who haven't played the deck. I don't know.
Well, it's more of it just being a ProQuest local area. It doesn't normally
sure.
concentrate that hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aurora is just like the special case where because she is pretty easy to pick up and like her it's really hard to go super wrong with a list. And also she's just like the armory, the intro deck. Like,
yeah,
you just have so many different kinds of people. Like, it's like everyone playing it because it's an intro deck, everybody playing it because it's easy, everybody playing it because it's the best aggro deck, and then everybody playing it because it's just the best deck is like a lot of people going to play the deck and do well with the deck, obviously, as well, because the deck's broken.
I'm really curious to see where these Enigma wins go. I think like some of them will go down, some of them will go up into Aurora, I assume. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see like Florian jump up a bunch next week or something, because that sounds like where a lot of people are moving to.
That's what I'd expect.
Yeah.
Wait, did Prism not get many wins?
No, Prism isn't actually she got 4 wins. It isn't actually good in the meta.
What?
How can
Uh,
this go in my local ProQuest?
I think Prism's like okay. I think Prism's really
it's
good.
okay.
Really good post these LLs, because I think that like she was in a fine spot with her worst matchups being like Enigma. But now if we expect more like, I guess Florian's also a bad matchup would be the other concern with Prism. Is that is like truly one of your weaker matchups. So
yeah, I mean Prism might have had 3 tops in Pro Tour, but that's not because it was good in CC. That's because the people all went X1 or better in draft that play Prism. And then like, because then you go look at the calling and there's like no Prism.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually good on the CC side. It's like it's fine. It's a fine deck.
Yeah.
Like
it's fine.
Yeah.
I would expect like all of the normal suspects get a little bit more, but I think maybe we could see like Yarl potentially be a hero that gets like a real number of wins this week. Yarl, I think, is pretty good into Aurora. And I also think if you have a Yarl list, especially at ProQuest level, you're probably going to be pretty good into most News and Florians.
Agreed.
I think those like long matchups are tricky to play. And especially if you are like the Yarl player that has a bunch of prep into Florian and a bunch of prep into New, if you play into just like random ProQuest News and Florians, I could see them just like not even giving themselves a chance in the matchup because they don't know what to do.
Do you think there's like a real consideration to not play Yarl if you feel that you're not going to be able to make decisions super quick and maybe you're in an area where people aren't like experienced in the Yarl?
I think it depends on which version of Yarl you're playing. If you're playing the like really ignorant like CYB Sigil of Solace Rampart version, then if
you got to be tight. You got to be tight on your decisions,
especially if you're in like a more amateurish area where like people maybe don't know what they're doing into fatigue decks and they haven't played against Yarl. I could see that being a concern, but I think just like normal mid-rangey like Stalagmite, go to town, just do good value plays. Yarl is actually pretty reasonable if you build him properly. If you like build to kind of get towards the proper end game. I think if you're playing like a Victor, like Stalagmite Oakenold Victor deck, you're probably going to get shit on. But
I think it's reasonable if you're playing Yarl at like a ProQuest level, right? And you're like worried that you're going to go to time. Like it's not weird to be on like turn 1 of the game. You just tell your opponent, I'm going to try and fatigue you. We have to play quickly. Like it's like not that big of a deal. Like it's like a ProQuest, and for the most part, you've probably seen these people several times at this point. Mm-hmm. If you've been traveling to these events, like most people I meet are reasonable. Like if I'm like, hey, I'm trying to go very long, I'm trying to fatigue you, and you're not really giving anything up when you tell someone that, because it's post sideboard. Like,
you don't have to say it so explicitly. You could just say like, I think there's a chance this game ends up going very long, so I'm going to try my hardest to play as fast as I can, and I would hope we can agree on that or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also just be very explicit with it as well. You're not losing points after the sideboard.
I would just tell
you know what I mean?
when we sit down, I'd just be like, hey, this matchup might go along. Let's just make sure we keep a good.
Yeah, that's how I would
Exactly.
word it. But
Yeah.
I want to give you like the all the
Yeah,
way
you
version.
can.
I mean,
just say, I'm just gonna.
it's not that big of a deal. Like people are like, I gotta hold. You don't have to hold anything close to the chest. Like it's a ProQuest. You've probably met these people.
Yeah.
These people probably know. I go to ProQuest and like I know everyone. I've seen almost everyone in the room at some point. So it's not like a weird thing to be like, hey, this game's going super long. Let's not go to time. Like at the very beginning of the game, and then you also play quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I think my comment was like the genesis was more towards someone like picking up Yarl for the first time. Maybe they're in like a new area where they don't have this kind of camaraderie with the player base as much.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Hmm.
I'm curious to see what happens. I think I'm like 99% sure I'm just playing new, and I'm probably putting like an extra Cosmic Awakening in the deck for this next weekend. There's like a small chance that maybe I brew something else because I don't want to deal with the new Florian matchup all day. Because that matchup is pretty difficult if the Florians know what they're doing.
Put CYB in your deck. Enigma's gone.
I mean, I just think CYB is bad into Aurora.
Sure. But I think without Enigma, maybe you have.
I think you can switchboard it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you can switchboard it into a way that's like pretty decent.
At locals too. I feel like you could probably get away
Yeah.
with that. But
But I might prove something there, or maybe I like play Verdance or something weird.
yeah, that's
If I have 5 PTIs, I can take risks. Like if I want.
that's my thing. Is like I don't know if I want to play Aurora or if I want to use my like pretty good elo with a few PTIs banked ability to just go play Verdance and just who cares.
I'm for sure playing a deck I think will be legal for Nats.
Yeah,
I could probably just play Aurora if I wanted to qualify, but I'd rather the practice like higher.
Yeah, that's fair. I also do think it's pretty likely I play Verdance at Nats, so maybe I'll just do that.
Nice. Are you intending on casting in the calling or?
I think it really just depends on how popular new is. Like new, like
think
Vert.
that's
When
my
I was playing Verdance, to be honest, I felt like every matchup was fine.
Yeah.
Except for new. New was unbearable.
That's
like it was just
also-
an unbearable matchup.
That's also how I feel. But I do think that there's some things that you can maybe do in the matchup to make it better, but I haven't actually put the time.
Is Prism not unbearable as well?
No, Prism is hard, but it's fine. Like you definitely win a lot of games. Like Prism is basically like most of the turns are pretty reasonable, but then the nature of like how the heroes work is that sometimes the Prism like gets a turn where like she hits with a Herald, puts Soraya out, and then the Verdance just like doesn't draw cards that properly deal with it, and then sometimes you just lose. And then like a lot of the games are just you kind of get walked down, and then eventually you lose because their cards are a little bit better, but it's definitely a game. Also, Prism is like the single matchup in the game that is the easiest to like tech for as Verdance, right? Like this is just the case with everybody, but you just throw more poppers in your deck. And with Verdance, it's actually like pretty easy because a lot of the poppers are like main deck cards. Like how many like.
But you're not scared if you just put all these poppers in your deck that they just pivot to a more Spectra focused game plan and like
I don't
throwing it 2 cards
at least in my experience. I think without Tome, the like Spectra heavy Prism decks they almost just like don't work. I think they work into like the super slow decks, but I don't think Verdance is slow enough where that works out most of the time.
Especially not when it has some combo kill potential as well.
Yeah, like the Verdance deck is just gonna, if you set up Spectra, I think the Verdance deck is probably just gonna either kill you pretty quickly or just meaningfully keep Spectra in play and then or like keep control of it and then eventually just kill you. But I'm not sure. Maybe
it's not a good matchup, but when you're playing the game, it feels like you're playing the game.
Yeah.
When you play Verdance into new that knows what they're doing, it like legitimately they're beating you on every axis of the game.
They're always
you can't run your good blues because they'll play your good blues into you. Yeah. You don't have enough blues in the deck to even function if you take them all out, so you're just kind of screwed doing that. They block really well because they get the keep ND reacts against you, which is like actually annoying. And then they strip all of your combo, so you can't combo. They have bonds. Bonds can grab half the cards in your deck because of the life keywords. So you have to play around that. It's just like they can also just counter pitch stack you and beat you in fatigue. Like the second way. It's just like they win on any axis they want to win on. They win. Yeah. It's like very frustrating.
Basically like the Verdance deck is just like you go through all the checks. It's like, okay, can I just like play the game normally? And it's like you can't quite play the game normally because I block too well. and then you can't quite play like a normal fatigue game plan because you can't like set up a bunch of potions and then combo new because she just disrupts you. And then it's like, okay, well, I can't counter fatigue you really. I can't like damage stack you. There's some things that you can do, but it is like fundamentally pretty rough. But I think there are maybe things you can do to make it better. But
They also have like a pile of blues, so they can block your spells. Pretty.
Also,
It's just
the like
so
you
annoying.
can't play your blues thing is also a really big deal for Verdance because most Verdance lists are already like real. They're like barely on the edge of like playable with their blue counts, and now it's like you have to take out like Heartbeat is like your best blue.
You have to take out
You
Heartbeat.
have to
Like
take out
you
Heartbeat.
can't win the game with Heartbeat in it, but you also
It's
kind of can't win
it's
without.
so hard
So
to be gone because it's so important for a lot of your end game stuff. And then you also normally have to take out Seeds of Tomorrow if you're playing that. And that's the kind of card that's actually like really good in those matchups where like you go to second cycle and you
have to take Seeds out.
Like you can't play that either.
I have won this matchup as new a million different ways. I have fatigued them by counter pitch stacking them.
Yeah.
I have just killed them in first cycle.
Yeah.
I have banished the Seeds of Tomorrow, and they could never combo me for the whole game because now I could just play their seeds. I just kept a thing in their arsenal. I've played all of their Heartbeats and gained 9 health for free, and then cycled one back in and gained another 3 health. It's just like impossible for them to ever win.
The whole time
like,
you're like playing all of their blue attacks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's rough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one matchup that's like, it's like doomed.
Yeah, but whatever.
It feels.
Whatever. It's fine.
Okay. Well, we have ranted on Verdance.
I'm
Two of us really like the deck. One of us do not like it.
I'll be coping on the new matchup next week.
Yeah, I mean, there might not be a lot of news in the area, and you could just play it and get away with it.
Exactly.
Right? There's only 2 news, I think, at my ProQuest, and I was one of them. So, okay. Which makes sense, because like new is arguably not a good pick right now. Like it's like I'm not recommending people bring new because you just don't want to play 3 Florian matches. Like you just don't want to do that if that's like what your area. Like you don't want to play 2 Aurora and like 2 Florian. Like that's just not really where you want to live as a new player. But to go to the actual topic, there has been a lot of noise around what is going to happen to this game when Aurora's gone. Because Enigma is now gone. That is a boogeyman. Zen is gone. And for the people who don't know, Zen was one of the decks keeping any fatigue deck in check. You cannot fatigue Zen meaningfully with Cosmic Awakening floating around. Enigma, also one of the decks keeping fatigue decks around. But Aurora is still kind of keeping them in check with, the full just like Bozo combo.
When Florian's
can do.
At the very least keeping in check the decks that like she's good into the decks that are like fatigue adjacent as well, outside of just the full fatigue decks.
So there has been a lot of people talking about how after Aurora's gone, it kind of just looks like the meta is just CYB, fatigue, Florian stacking decks, Yarl CYB decks, Bravo CYB, pick your poison, right?
Nice.
So I have even seen people talking about how we should probably just preemptively ban CYB so we just don't have to deal with it, which I think is a fine decision to make because only the most toxic decks run CYB right now. So that does make a little sense. But on the other hand, it's just like stacking Florian, the meta, like the whole meta is going to be stacking Florian. So I wanted to take some time to talk about maybe our thoughts on what is going to happen after Aurora is gone, because it does look like Aurora will be gone. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in high seas, but without that information, that little gap between Aurora being gone and high seas being legal, which could resolve any of these issues we talk about today, or we can go into it from there. But Lucas, I think you were a little stringent. I believe that stacking Florian is a real deck post-Aurora, like a real deck that's like you have to make a game plan for and was probably one of the top decks in the game. But what is your thoughts?
I think it's like Syndra at the start of Memphis, like at the start of this format at Memphis. Like I think it's like an objectively powerful thing that you're doing that is just like really not good enough. Like I think it's a powerful strategy and it's good into decks that let it use all of its cards on defense consistently. But I think the deck is just kind of bad against anything that like basically, honestly, it's bad against itself. Like, it's bad against any deck that can just set up a little bit, because it can't use its cards on offense, and it has to use its cards on defense to get value. So if you just play against like a Florian mirror that's just playing like a regular Florian deck, and they just like
That's so funny.
German.
Dude, everybody plays the stack deck.
Your
Literally
take
what
is
you're saying.
your take is actually backwards.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying necessarily. Hold on. So when I say that I'm not.
Okay, wait.
Stacking Florian deck.
Let me say something. You can just listen and collect your own thoughts, and then come back with your own response. This is like a little bit of a different topic because you got to collect your thoughts. I could feel like you were just you were talking without real thought behind it.
No. I knew what I was gonna say because the Florian. I think the matchup is probably better for stacking Florian, but the principle of like playing like a Germinate or something like that, like maybe you play against a mechanologist and they like play an item or stuff like that. I think all of the setup that you have access to in the game is the biggest counterplay. Now, I think right now we have a bit of a gap. I think that the biggest heroes in the game that are able to do this meaningfully right now are probably like Verdance is the biggest one because we don't have historically we've had like Pistol Dash, we've had illusionists in the game be like one of the biggest examples of this, where like you keep fatigue decks in check by being able to set up and go over the top of them. And it's possible that we're in a spot where those kinds of decks don't exist in a large capacity, which would make Florian a lot better. But if people are able to kind of sidestep this by just like playing Verdance and, you know, having a billion damage combo or playing mech and setting up items and stuff like that, I could see it like not being a huge deal. I also just think that the stacked Florian deck is kind of like you're just playing a bunch of cards that are conditional to get their value to try and get a bunch of value. And I think it's the same with like Refractor, for example, where like your cards are really strong when you're able to block out and keep your thing around.
Just like everything you're saying is completely wrong.
Yeah, I disagree with almost everything.
Yeah, literally everything you said has been completely wrong.
You think
so? Like how stacked Florian actually works is the only way you can make a lot of rune chance is by keeping a big hand.
Yeah,
because the only way you make rune chance is by playing the tree, and then your opponent not presenting AB3, and you like.
Well, you're still playing like you're playing like a billion root bounds, right?
Well, root bound Carapace doesn't make rune chance. The only way
I'm saying
something on your own turn.
I'm saying because it's like a defensive. I'm just saying because it's a deck with a million D-reacts. Like you have issues not being able to use.
You don't have to sublist at every matchup though.
Yeah, that's like not how the deck
works.
You have
a sideboard.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the like fear mongering over the like defensive floor. I mean, if we're just talking like a normal,
we're talking stack.
No, we're talking stack. Like in the matchups where you're being attacked, it's nuts. If you're not being attacked, you just side them out. No.
Yeah, they don't attack you. They just like put a bunch of rune chance on the board in a very inefficient way, but they exploit the fact that the opponent doesn't play AB3, so their like tree gets them a billion rune chance, and then eventually they just like send a ninth blade with a billion rune chance, and hopefully it's lethal.
Yeah, but it ends up where like that value only makes sense if you're able to block with your cards on defense.
It's not true. The deck stack Florian is actually worse against a deck that forces you to use all the cards in your hand. So like if you're playing into Aurora, for example, and you're playing stack Florian, and Aurora says, "Give me all of the cards in your hand,"
sure.
The stack Florian doesn't work nearly as well.
Yeah, if you just pull up a deck list, Lucas, you'll see the deck actually like blocks terribly. Like almost all the cards block for two because
you're like read the runes, you're like blah blah blah. Even if you don't play Scepter, because you can if the meta is slow enough, you don't even have to play Scepter because you can just play like read the runes. You can play all of the generators. You can play the generators at the start of the turn, etc. And you're just stacking up indefinite rune chance, and they can't kill you. And if they're trying to kill you, they're attacking you.
Anything close to like a CYB fatigue deck? Like, how is this at all?
It's not. We're saying those are two things that can be pillars. Yeah. We're saying these are two different pillars of like different ways you can play the game.
They're non-interaction.
Do when Enigma was legal. They're two non-interactive ways of playing the game.
Okay.
It's not the same deck at all. One deck says, I'm just going to block you and gain life, and then swing a hammer, and eventually you'll die. The other deck says, I'm never going to swing and attack at you. I'm just going to make enough rune chance to where the one turn I do attack, you die.
Sure. Okay.
But because the meta is slower and depowered, and there's no like Enigma to put stuff on the board to counter this, like nothing kills them. So like before, where they could never actually get to the death stack, like they can just get to the death stack now because what stops this? Like what kills this?
Yeah,
like what gets through them just blocking
like 1 to 40, but they have all the rune chance. Then like you just die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
honestly only one
the-
deck that comes to my mind. It's Levia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
Maybe KO. Maybe it's KO time.
I think Levi is better in that like specific niche aspect.
I think all their boots are like pretty good into that kind of thing.
You're forgetting that requires Levia to self-fill the graveyard the entire game,
Yeah.
which is actually difficult.
Well, to be fair though, I think it is actually something that we've seen be a problem before, and it's actually one of the things that Levi is pretty good at just like fixing with deck building.
They're better. They're much better than they were before, but there are definitely games where you're just like, I guess I come in for like a small amount. Like this will happen throughout the game.
Yeah, I think
as
that's
well.
part of why she's actually super strong into these heroes is that like she is one of the best like decks where you just run her as normal. You don't have to do any special pitch stack or anything, and you just like damage stack really neatly. Like you just happen to have like on turn off turn like super built into your hero, which makes her super strong against any of these decks that are trying to like go longer.
Sure. Let's I want to wrap it back to the stack Florian. So the issue is one, people are already trying to play stack Florian before Enigma was gone. Like these showed up to Pro Tour to play the game. It was more of like a switchboard. But Florian has a lot of tools here. I agree that Tree Scepter is like the original way to run it. It's like one of the best ways to run it. However, against the CYB decks, you just run the sword. You just never hit them, so all of their CYBs are blank. So you only have to stack up to the 40 anyway. And you just now, because the meta's slower, can run more generators in your deck that you can profitably get off that allow you now to do the natural stack more often. This is the fear of what like the meta turns into is it'll be stack Florian and every deck is going to have to find a way to be able to beat a Florian who's just never swinging at you and just stacking indefinitely.
To be fair,
I think that is a legitimate concern with like Enigma, Zen, and Aurora all being gone.
My instinct is that there should be something somewhere in the game that is like competent enough to just bury this, because like this is the kind of game plan where like if you're trying to play this game plan, it feels like some decks will just beat you like most of the time.
Yeah, I think you kind of want to approach it like back in like heavy hitters meta when like Kanos are trying to stack you. It feels sort of like that where you just have like, okay, I have to win the game in the first like 10 turns as the opponent. How can I just like have as much damage output as possible? Because once they hit their critical threshold of rune chance, I die, similar to Kano combo, right? Yeah. So I think it's just like any deck that can, like Dan mentioned, with some of the brutes being possible, or just like, I mean, Aurora obviously can do it too.
But to be fair, if you're playing a deck like that, you're playing semi into their game plan, allowing them to use only root bout carapaces to actually get turned on, which means they can afford to block with more cards because they need less cards to get to their damage stack.
Well, that's why
also, if you're racing, Rhinar would actually be pretty good into that.
Yeah, that's not to be
fair. That is an answer. I'm not saying there's no answers to this. I'm saying reasonable answers to the deck that can also be a switchboard, right? Like it can also just be normal Florian in some matches as well.
Yeah, but
it's just it has a lot more flexibility with removing a bunch of bad matchups from it. And there are just a lot of decks that just struggle.
I feel like
I don't think you can really have I don't think you can really have a full switchboard to be like a normal Florian deck and a full stack deck.
Well, it's also kind of like
it is hard.
It's also like kind of whack though to like. I feel like in the past those switchboards have been like a big deal. Like if you're playing in like pistol dash versus like super aggro dash, it's like maybe like you guess wrong and then they end up playing like pistol dash. But I feel like if you guess wrong with Florian and they end up being normal Florian, then you just like rejoice because it's like thank God they're playing Florian.
The only sideboarding wrong would be like you just play more AB, right? It's like not that big a deal, right?
No. Yeah. Well, also it's just like the worst thing that can happen is I play against Florian. Like that's okay. Like that's a timeline I can live in.
Sure. I think there is reason to be concerned if stack Florian is anywhere close to the top of the meta. That is a horrific meta to live in.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree with that. If I can't say 100% that stack Florian is going to be the best deck after the next meta. That seems unlikely, but possible, which is scary enough. The fact that it's possible that it is in like A tier that's a terrible meta if it's an A tier.
I think if it's like a hybrid-y version and it's like one of the medium decks, it's whatever. Like if
I
it's
think-
like if it's like 10% of the meta, maybe. But if it's like 11,
I think probably the worst
Nah.
FAB I ever watched was in Chicago, the LL stack Florian mirrors, where they like ran out of dice and had to start writing down their rune chants on paper.
they're
I
both
think
bad.
if we have something like that happening in CC, that would be
And I
not-
think that's
not very good.
a legit fear for
Yeah.
people to be voicing right now, because it does look like it could potentially be a top deck. And then on the opposite side of that, this is, I think, Lucas, what you were thinking of. We have the Yarl CYB incredibly like 70 card remembrance piles that also seem like they don't really have a lot of counters going into the next meta as well.
Yeah.
And those are also, I think, a pretty terrible meta to live in.
Yeah, I think the like natural counters in the game right now are like potentially Prism is like a hero who historically could I don't know if she still has the tools to do it, but she could probably be built, I would guess, in a way that beats these fatigue decks pretty easily. Verdance is another classic example, just like you build up and you can do a million damage with Verdance.
Against Yarl, I agree. Assuming you don't need any of your equipment.
Yeah, against Florian, it's different, right? Because they have Reaping.
Yeah, because they can run Reaping Blades, so you actually can't combo them.
Yeah, you have to be different there. But well, Florian's a little bit weird because I'm pretty sure you just like hold
Hit yourself.
Yeah, well, you just like hold a million, and then like as soon as they go off, you just like, okay, I'll gain a life and kill you. But maybe not. Is there anything else in the game that's like?
There's also like the Decimator Axe CYB style decks too.
Well, there's like a bunch of different fatigue decks, but Cody was talking about like actual counters to the fatigue decks. Like historically, it would be like
Reinar.
Pistol Dash, Enigma. Yeah, Brute is
Reinar.
Yeah,
Reinar specifically.
I think Reinar specifically. I think Levi is close, but yeah,
Yeah.
Reinar is a big one for sure.
New
New
does a weird thing against like those type of decks. It isn't actually good into those decks, but its existence makes those decks bad into Prism. So like they can't run poppers in their blue count because that is actually how New can win that matchup. So they have to decide which deck they're beating. So New existing does hamper those strats a little bit.
Also, some number of those strategies are maybe not like bad, but some of them are at least like New is reasonable into them. Like,
but New could run Cosmic Awakening, for example.
Well,
like,
she can run Cosmic,
so.
and also if you don't have enough pressure, like she will eventually just mask all your cards away. Although since News aren't playing CYB, those strategies are a lot better into her. When she plays CYB, in my experience, it's a lot harder for those decks to win because you just gain. Because unlike the other decks, Yarl is the exception because he can kill the mask, but New is really strong in all of those fatigue endgames because your opponent has to actually kill you because you have mask. So you have the I win the fatigue button.
Yeah, it's just like if you're running Yarl is like the best version of it because
Yarl
one they get to eat the helmet, but if they just run Sledge, like you really can't deal with 6 at your face like every turn
when you don't have helmet. Yeah,
hard.
You can't. Yeah. I think ultimately what we'll probably see is that Yarl does kind of coalesce most of the he is just the best of all of these stupid fatigue decks for the most part, right? I guess some people.
It actually might be good in. It might actually be good into Stack Florian. That's unknown, but it's possible that it's actually good into Stack Florian.
Well, you could play like the funny cards, right? Like the kill all your
Smack to reality.
Yep.
Yeah. You can also just kill all their equips, right? Which is relevant.
Do they care about their equips?
I think it's interesting that I guess they don't really have like hands that they're trying to keep, that they're trying to fridge, so maybe they don't care. But yeah, Smack to reality is the like big thing that you could play in theory, but it's kind of hard to fit that into like a fatigue style Yarl shell because you have to pummel it. Although potentially with Mastery Pack Guardian, it might be a lot easier. You just like play a big aura, give dominate, and then smack for 4.
Yeah, but that's so far away from here that the meta is
of course,
completely irrelevant.
Of course.
I do think I'd be fine with CYB just being preemptively banned at the next BNR. I think all of the degenerate strategies run CYB. There's no it's just not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate for Verdance because we've never really seen a good CYB Verdance deck actually get to exist. But at the same, all the decks that are currently running it's just like
Whatever.
think, impressive.
Verdance has enough fun stuff. You can ban CYB.
Yeah.
We'll be
You
fine.
still have like the Fertile Ground if you want,
Yeah.
like a Verdance CYB, right?
Yep. But I think that would be a good call to get rid of CYB.
Yeah.
But overall, what do you guys think of the possibility of this type of meta being what we're looking at post-Aurora being gone?
I can't really judge it too harshly until I've played some mirror matches of like what we're deeming now as the cringe decks. Because if it turns out that the mirror match actually becomes interesting, then I don't really care about living in a format where it's like, you know, pseudo tier 0-ish, or you can only play like one style of deck. As long as like the mirror match like has interesting decisions and tech cards that aren't like blowouts but have some like skill to know when to play them. So I can't pass judgment until I've reached that point, but at first glance it seems difficult to make this appealing.
I just don't buy. I don't have any like fear or anxiety because I imagine that High Seas is probably just gonna shake it up. Like it feels like if we have two good new mid-range / aggressive heroes potentially, then we probably don't have to worry about this. But we'll see. Also, I think that the two Draconic heroes are actually really strong. I think that's the other thing is like they fit into this somewhere where I don't know if the lists have been quite optimized yet properly, but I could see Fang or Syndra both being like the new best aggro deck. And if the best aggro deck is like a reasonable hero and is good into stack Florian, then
Also,
that's
if you look at all the High Seas heroes, there's basically like they fall into the two buckets where Marlin and Puffin are playing with extra cards, right? Where you have like New Horizons, as well as when you crank, you draw.
Yeah.
So like both of them are effectively playing on potential 6-card hands, as well as Gravy being a pseudo illusionist. So like we kind of have the replacements already lined up in High Seas, where we have the two axes of attacking these decks of constantly throwing 6-card hands as well as board state.
I think for Necro, it's a little bit interesting because Necro doesn't have Cosmo or like Storm of Sandakai or Luminaris.
Well,
Necro,
that they've shown us yet.
yeah, of course. But like it's possible that Necro can have 20 allies in play and still only has one action point, which actually makes it like potentially worse into something like Florian. Like if Necro is just trying to maybe go like 2 to 3 wide with a couple allies, like maybe that's not good.
It has to have an all-in button.
It needs
like,
either a way of like turning cards in the graveyard unflipped or being able to swing their whole board.
Well, no, it just has to be able to swing its whole board.
It could also just be that their attacks and like their cards just like, because that's what we've seen, right? Is that the Necro cards interact with the allies. It could also just be like you get a bunch of allies and then your cards are just all pretty good, and that's good enough.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I do believe there could just be answers in the next set for this. But we do want to make sure that Stack Florian is nowhere close to the best deck in the game.
I'm not
like,
really
you don't want to live in that way. Okay. Let's go on to our podcast questions. Podcast questions are brought to you by members of our premium Discord. If you would like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, feel free to sign up below. Also, check out our sponsor, Gilded at Raven Games. They are a local store here in the New Jersey area for us, but they also ship throughout the whole U.S. You can go onto their website. They have singles, which are usually priced less than TCG Player, which is pretty cool. And then if you can grab them, boxes, but they have, I think a lot of those have been purchased, which is typically a good sign. Dan, do you know when their ProQuest is? Is it this weekend or is it the weekend after?
I'm fairly confident it's next Saturday, a week from this weekend.
That's always a fun time. And then we do have some pretty cool announcements in conjunction with Gilded Raven Games coming up probably next week, which I'm pretty excited to be able to announce finally. But feel free to check them out in the description below. Okay, first question here from Tweedle is going to be, what was your favorite moment playing Zen?
Oh, mine's easy. It was for sure like the first 2 games I played up the deck. After Lucas did like the initial 9 bonds build. It's like the wildest shit I've ever seen in Flesh and Blood. Just every hand was like, oh, they're dead. Oh, they're dead. Look at that. 30 damage.
Yeah, like that first time when you draw Shifting Winds and you like look over at Traverse and you're like, wait, but if I hold, and that like first kind of moment is pretty sweet for me, I think.
Yeah, before it was like clear that it was way too good and unfun, and everyone was going to hate playing against it.
Mine was Portland,
Okay,
for
go ahead.
sure. I mean, at Portland, I just felt like I was on top of the world with the deck because it did everything I wanted it to. I had ripped a bunch of the stuff out that I didn't like and put in nothing but choose your own D-React adventure, and then I went undefeated with it, and I felt like I could make all of the 2%, 3% plays that, like, oh, this is actually good in this one game, but it's like most of the time not good here, and they paid off. So that was my favorite memory of playing Zen.
Yeah, I think my favorite time was when I got to block with the shoes, when I just like knew that they were going to pummel me, and then I got a tiger, and I discarded the tiger, and then they took 40. that was fun.
I don't know. Most of my events with Zen were just like I did pretty good, but I didn't do that. Like at Worlds, I played Zen. I did super well in CC, but I didn't. I got like top 64. I guess my favorite moment was at a local. I have this picture on my phone somewhere of like one of my local friends with like his head in his hands like this because I have like 78 damage on the board or something absurd like that. It's like Art of War, Art of War, Art of War, Ancestral Harmony hits, Sacred Art, like Tiger, Tiger, Chase, Chase, Tiger Swipe, make like 7 more tigers for 4 each or whatever the hell. Stuff like that. But yeah.
Oh, you have to change mine. Mine's for sure when I beat Lucas on turn 0 in Living Legend. And he don't know it was me at first.
Oh, I gotta change.
He was like
mine.
making fun of me for attacking, and then he died.
Mine's definitely when I beat Lucas and that Battle Harden at top 8
easily.
When he was playing new. That's definitely my favorite.
That was a good game.
Sergio asks, is aggro dead after Aurora leaves because of OTK Florian?
This is different.
Well, I think we have
yeah, it's like what are the best aggro decks? It's like Prism,
Syndra,
the Draconic
Fang.
Heroes,
KO.
Dio. KO. Yeah.
Well, Dio can't possibly. No, Dio can't possibly be the best if we're in a fatigue meta, right?
I don't think Dio's like S tier best deck, but I think Dio could be like a pretty good deck.
In an aggro meta,
Fi?
I think it would be the best.
Maybe.
Fi is a pretty good aggro deck.
Fi's pretty good. I also think Fi is good into an aggro meta and maybe worse in a slower meta, but unsure.
I think aggro's kind of deadish after that. We're looking more at like a fast mid mid range more than we are.
Will this
like
meta even
pure
exist though? Like when is this happening between high seas? If anything, it'll be like 2 days, right?
It'll just be the Battle Hardened Hartford.
Yeah,
it'll be like the one weekend where it matters.
It'll be like a couple of weeks.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. I think we're gonna go through like a mini cycle where aggro might be a little bit dead because all the people will still be trying to play it, and all the Florians will still be able to be playing their like Giga defensive deck because they won't be facing infinite mirror matches. And then eventually the top cut will be like all these Florian mirror matches, and they'll be like, well, this is cursed because both of our decks suck. So then they're going to start teching more for the slower matchups, and then aggro will rise up. It's like the natural flow of card games.
Dude,
I think it's like maybe a little bit dead, but
dude, I just don't think Florian's going to start doing that well, but we'll see.
Yeah, you were a hater on Florian, but Florian is...
You're a hater on Florian, but then you like Verdance.
Florian keeps losing all of its bad matchups. Like, that's the thing that... Like, it's actually in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, I'm with the people. I expect it to be all Florian everywhere.
Like, Verdance's weapon does 1 or 2 damage. Florian's weapon does 4 or 5 damage.
Wait, that's not the weapon that I play. Dude, my weapon does 2 or 3 damage.
Yep. But it does 5.
It only does 3 damage once per game.
It is not once per game. Oh yeah, it only does 3 once. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very important 3.
But Florian's does 5 like a lot of times.
His does 3, and then Grasp.
It does 5. You pitch 1 blue and you do 5 damage.
Well, hold on. If our hero ability are like in play stuff, then we gave plenty of value because Verdance's hero ability does damage all the time.
Verdance's hero ability does damage with her weapon. You use 1 card and you.
Verdance's hero ability basically is a weapon because it triggers all your amp stuff. Yeah, I don't see the problem. I don't know.
This
like
doesn't feel worth comparing.
No, I don't understand at all. Why are we comparing these two?
I'm just like, you look at the math of the heroes, and the Florian math is up here, and the Verdance math is down here.
Yeah, but then you resolve one rampant growth, and like all of Florian's math looks foolish because rampant growth is just better than all of his cards.
Well, you resolve one rampant growth, and you gain 1 life and amp 1. It's not very good. You got to do a lot more stuff than that, man.
Yeah, it's true. But like when you do the like 1 card 11, it's just so much better than anything.
It's not 1 card 11. You play
Oh, but you
rampant
can,
growth, and
but you
it doesn't
can.
get 11.
No, but you can. You can.
It's 1 card 11, but you had to play 3 other cards.
Yeah,
So it's like it's the most copium 1 card 11 possible.
Yeah, but Florian
you like
like
spent
can't-
4 action points and played 3 other cards. Yeah, it's 1 card 11. You know.
Okay,
No,
so
no,
you
no,
should
but
look
like
at
those
Assassin.
cards all get on rate value or sometimes above rate value with like heartbeats and stuff.
Wait, what about the Slippy? Isn't he the aggro deck? Why don't we talk about Slippy?
Is he aggro?
Slippy is kind of the aggro deck.
Yeah, I feel like the good aggro decks are the like more kind of like Cody was saying, basically like the aggro decks that can block a little bit better, like Slippy. We talked about there was one other example that I had, but I'm forgetting it now. But maybe Mario.
KO.
Oh, KO.
that
Yeah,
sort
that
of
was the other
thing.
one I was thinking
Yeah.
of. KO Loaya.
Okay. Scary Super Cringe asks, Verdance OP now? Question mark.
Yeah, I think so.
If we put it to a vote, some members would say yes, and some would.
Right now, no. Verdance not very good. After Aurora's gone, perhaps.
Who's better in the Wizard Mirror, like Kano versus Verdance?
It's Verdance. That one I don't believe is actual cup. That's what Julian told me, but it's possible.
No
that
idea.
That's not true.
I can easily and honestly say I have no idea.
I think
Yeah, me
I think
too.
the answer is just that Kano can't stack anyone, and Kano can't really deal with the life gain and the decompose stuff. But I'm not actually sure.
Decompose?
I don't believe Kano players
Wow,
when they tell me
Fell.
Kano isn't good
Oh.
into a
Yeah.
matchup. I don't believe them. I'm always sus of that.
Yeah,
Because they constantly say this matchup is really
Oh
bad
yeah.
for Kano.
No, I'm
and
done
then they're
believing
just like
Kano is ever bad.
and then like 2 weeks later, yeah, that matchup's free for Kano. I don't know what you're talking. Like we figured it out. We got they have like one game that feels bad and they go unplayable.
That's like how Kano works, right? Like the worse Kano is, the better Kano is. Because
Yeah.
then so like less he's respected. I don't know what the sweet spot is, but it sounds like he's just always good.
Giltic asks, what does Syndra need in terms of cards we could see in expansion slots that would make her relevant meta deck? She fell off a cliff after her hot start.
Probably just like more consistent ways to. Oh, maybe I was gonna say more consistent ways to mark. It feels like sometimes she gets off like a little bit of a slow start, where like she draws her cards in the wrong order. Like if you draw your dragon powers and your Art of the Dragon fires like before your display loyalties, it could be kind of awkward.
I think she's just like in Fi territory, where it's like if you give her more starters or more 4s
Yep.
instead of 3s or more daggers that attack for 2 instead of 1. I don't know. Like she's a
She
good deck.
is
She's
not
you can just
allowed
tune
to
the
be better,
numbers a little bit. I agree.
but she's not allowed to be better because again, she's like exactly what you said. She's like Fi. He gets if these type of decks get too good, they're just way too good. There's like nothing you can do. They're just numbers.
This is good every time. Yeah, they're too consistent.
Yeah. Kraft asks, for embodiment of Earth token, which one is ahead? Dan's plant or Noah's plant?
Well, if you look at the cameras,
Which one is
I see a
ahead?
Dan plant in sight.
Yeah.
Dude, that
Like
plant
which
died
one would
like a
make
year
a
ago.
better embodiment is what they're saying.
What? Your plant died a year ago?
Oh, I forgot we never did that. We like put
No.
together embodiment tokens and just never printed them. Yeah, no,
Oh,
that,
you
that
actually
plant.
made them?
Oh, we like mocked them up,
Oh, okay.
but we never sent them to the printer.
I mean, mine would look terrible, dude. My plant is like as thin as possible.
No, my plant didn't survive the winter.
We might have to try and get some of those for nationals or
I got
something.
embodiment of leaf token, dude. You get like
It's
barely
Florian
half the
time.
defense.
True.
Mine gives your instance 1 defense.
Wardo77 asks, what is the probability that set 17 after High Seas has a new talented illusionist?
Incredibly unlikely. I would say almost impossible. Wait, no. Never mind.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Sorry, I was thinking it's supposed to be Monarch 3, right? But that actually could just straight up lead to it.
I thought it was the Savage Lands.
No, it's not Monarch 3. Monarch 3 got pushed to next year, right?
Did it?
What year is
I'm
it?
pretty sure
Yeah.
it's the Brute set.
Oh, okay. I think probably no talented illusionist for a couple sets, but we'll probably
no
get
idea.
Dromai Armory deck and it ruins the game next week. So Who knows?
This Drill My Armory deck cracks me up, but
I mean, we probably will.
We'll see. I know people would be very happy if they got their Drill My replacement, but careful what you wish for, because most of the replacements suck. Paxi asks, Lucas water bottle count check.
I think there's at least 10 in frame right now.
So actual water bottles 0, but we have a Fanta bottle,
Cups.
a Dr. Pepper can, and then we have
And all
3,
the cups.
7, 9, 10 cups.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Ram Cobbins asks, now that Slippy isn't a surprise deck, do you think their stock goes down? How can we build for a D-React meta, Florian?
Ooh, Slippy's pretty bad into D-Reacts, but you can play cards that are good into D-Reacts. Like
one of the cards is this person's profile picture. It's called Death Touch. That card's pretty good.
Yeah, Death Touch is good. You can play Backstab. That's like a real thing. If people are playing like an ignorant amount of D-Reacts, you can do the Aurora thing where you just go Backstab, play a bunch of D-Reacts, make it big, do a bunch of damage.
Now, Slippy's just a good deck. Like,
yeah.
The reason Slippy wasn't played before was not because people didn't know Slippy was a good deck. It's because everywhere you went had a million Marios, and that matchup is
and
a 0% matchup.
And news.
But new isn't 0%.
Well, new doesn't get as much value from your hero ability, but new just shits on you. Like just because
kind of.
It's just
it's not 0%. It is playable.
Really hard, I think.
It can be hard. You're behind in a bunch of areas, but you guys can blender each other, and it can become a problem. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. But Mario's 0%. Like legitimately, just like you can't win this matchup because they are built to have go again because they want it every round, and they just now have it. So it's kind of a problem.
I don't know. I feel like they can't be that much better than your deck. Right? Like they don't get too much extra. Like they get Mario flip, but like otherwise you're just playing the same deck, right? Like all it takes.
But they get Mario flip with go again.
No, I don't disagree. It's beneficial, but I'm just saying like the only thing that they get that you don't have is Mario flip. But your deck is built to actually have go again every turn.
Well, the thing they get is 1 more damage. And like 4 versus 3 is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, they do get 1 more damage.
They just like make all their cards a 4, dude.
When the stuff's marked.
You're playing yellows and they're playing reds. It's kind of OP.
Yeah. And like every Black Widow just hits.
Yeah.
Because you can't block.
That's
overblock.
I see that.
Yeah.
When they go again.
But Mario's fallen off a cliff. So like Slippy just like doesn't have that matchup to worry about anymore.
Didn't and so like that's why it's
or something? Who?
Or Battle Harden?
Mario just won a Battle Harden, yeah.
Sure. Did he win like any of these ProQuests? Because that's really what people are talking about. Yeah. It's like how many Marios are in the room when you show up to ProQuest, and there were 0 at my.
They're all Slippy now, so yeah, you're good.
They're all Slippy, yeah. So
wait, I should play Mario on Saturday. Don't tell anyone.
There were like 4 or 5 Slippies, I think. At ours, 0 Mario, 2 new. So that's really why it's Slippy. But Slippy is a good deck, like just inherently a good deck, hard to play against. Smoothie asks, with Nathan Crawford's last stream, he thinks that Stack Florian beats Verdance every time with Reaping Blade. Does it not deterministically lose to Verdance running one, what is this, pyroglyphic protection in Evergreen?
It's basically his end state.
Yeah. It should deterministically lose to that, I think. But
I thought protection.
You just combo twice. That's what you do.
I thought protection read that it only blocked the next 3.
No, so what pyroglyphic protection says is the blue says whenever you would be dealt arcane damage, prevent 1 of that damage, and so you Storm Striders it in, and then it's his end state.
Okay.
Is this a real card?
Yeah,
I just didn't remember. I didn't remember the full text.
It's a 2-block, 2-cost aura that at red says whenever you would be dealt arcane damage, prevent 3 of it.
And only lives 1 turn instead of 2.
Yeah, and it only lives 1 turn. It doesn't have go again.
Oh, so it's like a free to play blue.
But you can Storm Striders it in response to them popping all their rune chants, and you block all that. So they're asking, can you just IP that the whole game and then play Evergreen loop?
Yeah.
You can get comboed twice, would be the first potential worry. Although one pretty sweet thing you can do is if they start comboing you, you just take the first million Rude Chants, then you Storm Striders it in, and then you just are lower than them, and so you just Verdance combo. Like you just play Rampant Growth and just gain 1 million life. So my guess is that you probably have some Verdance strategy that is pretty great against Stack Florian for that reason. But in tournament, deterministically winning a matchup is different than winning a matchup. That's the other thing is like theoretically it's awesome if you can evergreen loop somebody and pyroglyphic them and they like are scared and never go off, but they can also just never go off and you're not going to get through an hour of like in 55 minutes. I don't think you're going to kill somebody evergreen looping them in a real tournament. So that would be my biggest concern with that is like my main strategy is if I sit down and somebody doesn't try to combo me twice, if they just like give up, like surely Florian could sit there and block evergreens for 55 minutes. Like I can't imagine that's that difficult to do.
Good point though.
Yeah. I just think it's also like suspect unless you're scouting them to know like I don't think everybody playing Florian will be on the stack build, and
yeah, for this
seems
week,
very dubious in the other build.
I think they were just saying like in this potential universe where like people are playing stack Florian, Verdance as a counter, like there is stuff you should be able to do to make it pretty reasonable, I think.
Yep. And then we see the rise of CMH Florian.
Mm-hmm.
Big Hungry asks, would it have been too strong to give Yarl a new Winter's Whale with the same stat line, but the on hit of Frostbite was reliant on them having an exposed equipment zone? Yes.
Yeah, probably would have been too broken. 3 for 4 on hit Frostbite is fucking ridiculous. It's so
It's
broken.
easily the most broken thing they've printed.
Yeah, it's like so much better than everything
Maybe Death
else.
Dealer.
I think it's better than Death Dealer. I just think it's like what it does for you as a class is just like pretty. Like when you play Yarl with it versus without it, like first of all, if it's actual Winter's Whale stats, it's just a hammer that we can swing for 4 without having to have a specific type of blue, which is already just like better than the other hammers. And then yeah, once you turn on, you give them a Frostbite. It's just pretty ridiculous. Like you just get to.
You'd have to ban Stalagmite or make it two-handed.
Yeah, I think so. I just think it's way too strong. Like you just like giving a Frostbite. So there's a number of Frostbites against like every hand in Flesh and Blood where like eventually it's worth a card. Like if you give them enough Frostbites, like maybe 3 Frostbites is worth a card against some hands because they just like have to pitch an extra blue, right? But against a lot of heroes, that number is 1. Like there's a lot of hands where like a Frostbite just makes them pitch a whole extra card. And so if you have this like weapon that is not unreasonable to just make a 2 for 1 basically into all of these aggro decks. Like when it hits, it's just a 2 for 1 on your weapon every turn of the game by pitching a blue. It's pretty ridiculous.
Agreed. It is very good. It is why I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah.
Also, if you're playing Fatigue, you don't want to play Winter's Whale anyway because it makes people have to think too much. So
yeah,
you would play a non-Winter's Whale version hammer anyway. Okay. With that said, hopefully we are not going to run into a super slow stack meta. But good luck, everyone, in your ProQuest this week. But that's it. We're gone. Goodbye.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the envelope
7
here, but
envelope.
What we could do here is go ahead and play the envelope.
All 3 pitches of Envelope and Darkness.